Anyone heard about the other two by chance?
Somebody coming up.
Did you see?
There's somebody at the door.
Oh.
It's not one of our guys.
Just messaged Don, but I haven't heard from him.
Michael?
I don't have any messages from you, Rick.
Okay. All right, well, let's,
Been a while. How are you doing?
we'll open the meeting at 7:01 PM. Welcome everyone here tonight. It's a chilly night.
Sorry.
And I will appoint Manager Honeycutt to be recording secretary, was agreed to. We're getting close, I think, not yet, so. You agreed? And get a chance here, we're gonna call roll, Mark.
Sir. Denman. Steers.
Here.
King. Lawrence.
Here.
Gary Mathers.
Here.
Myra Mathers.
Here.
Piper.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Now would everyone please stand and join me in saying the pledge of allegiance to our flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don's on the way. King's on the way.
Okay. First item on the agenda, number 2, is the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Lawrence, supported by trustee Young Mathers to approve the agenda as presented. Any questions, comments? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. And then we have the regular meeting minutes from our 12/16/24 meeting. Seems like a long time ago.
I'll make a motion that we accept our regular meeting minutes of 12/16/2024 as presented.
Second.
Okay, again, a motion by Lawrence, supported by Young Mathers, to accept the regular meeting minutes of 12/16/24 as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed, say no.
Todd, would you get the door?
Yeah.
Apparently it's blocked.
That motion carries. And I'll move on to payment of bills tonight. I think on page 6, the regular bills totaled $103,177. And on 7 and 8 was Grand River, $266, $271.23 primarily. So total for tonight's meeting is $370,248.23. 370, 248.23.
I just have a question on liability insurance, $110,977.
Number there?
It's just, the only one we have is the except for the sewer, page 6.
gentlemen, we're down to payment of the bill, where we're at with item number 4.
I guess I have one. Are all these just bid pays, or do they submit materials and everything?
I'm sorry, you're talking about from the
From like-
contractor?
Yeah,
Yeah,
these
they submit a list of,
all the time and
well,
materials and everything?
happens if once a month.
Okay.
Bucky?
Can you tell me the difference between type A and type C cement?
Between what?
The difference between type A and type C cement?
I think it's the amount of weight it can hold,
Pressure, yeah,
it's the amount of weight.
tensile strength.
I'm pretty sure.
Because some of the repairs on here is type A for part of it, and then type C for another section. I'm assuming it's.
I think type C is, maybe backwards, but I think type A is like for heavy equipment, things like that,
Yeah.
compared to people walking on it.
So
Pretty sure
type
that,
A is the heavier.
I'm pretty sure that's the difference.
There's concrete repair type A and then concrete repair type C. And I was just curious of what the difference was.
Any other comments or questions on the bill, ma'am? $370, $248.
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills in the amount of $370,248.23. Second.
Motion by trustee Piper, supported by trustee Young Mathers to pay bills in the amount of $370,248.23. More discussion before we vote? Okay.
I do have another question, but it's not pertaining to the bills, but I've been curious on this. I don't know, a few meetings ago, I think it was Matt was here from police, and I asked him about some of the change repairs, and he said it was through a grant that we have to pay. Or we have to use the money or go back to something else. Do you remember that, Jody? Can you
Yeah.
explain that a little bit further?
Rural Development gave us $500,000 for contingency. And the change orders are paid through that, with that contingency money. If we don't use all of that contingency money, we have to give it back to Rural Development.
I thought we already went through that already, so apparently
No, we
we still
haven't.
have some to use.
We have a little
yet.
bit left. I don't know the exact number,
But it can't be used on the regular bills of what we're doing, it
No.
has to be something,
but it has to be something in addition to what we've already contracted to have done.
Any other question or comment? Okay, motion again was to pay bills, we already done, no, we haven't. Pay bills in the amount of $370,248.23. Okay, you called roll yet?
Yes, sir. King, I'm sorry, Steers,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Gary Mathers,
Yes.
Myra Mathers,
yes,
Piper,
yes.
Denman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. With that last payment there to Grand River, looks like they have been billed, including the amount that's on hold, 18,497,849 is 100%, and they've paid, or we have paid about 84.26%. It's getting there, little by little, we're getting there.
Are they able to work in this weather, or
I'm sorry.
are they able to work, how much to work with
Yeah, it's kind of a skeleton crew there right now anyway, but yes, they are. They don't have any major projects going on there at the moment, but, yeah, they're still there every day.
Okay, we're at item number 5, public comment, and this is a place for anyone in the audience that wishes to address council or ask questions of council. You're welcome to do it. We ask that you do please go to the podium to speak. We limit it to a 3-minute total time per person. Well, did I say public hearing?
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is just for public comment, and public hearing later. You can say something briefly too.
Okay. According P.O. Box 226, Constantine, Whittick. I'm a little confused, and we set precedents with citizens here in Constantine with sewer line breaks or backups into people's basement. Art and Alice Johansson, 2008, we repaired and covered their deductible and cleanup for backup into the old bait shop, and I'm wondering why we're not taking care of the rest of the citizens with the backups of late. Matter of fact, one of them went as far as to say that management here told them to sue us. I would think with all the bond claims that we've had in the last 10 years, that we might have a hard time getting insurance. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mark Vogue, 1035 South Washington Street. 2 observations. One, on Friday afternoon, I called the office here at the village and requested that the flag be put at half-staff that's in the park on Washington Street. We have a deceased president. All flags are supposed to, public flags are supposed to be lowered to half-mast for 30 days. It's still up as of tonight.
Thank you, we'll take care of that, thank you.
Thank you. And it's just out of respect, it's not political, it's what we do for our presidents. Number 2, it's just observation that I'm looking through all these bills, pretty immense. Unless you're a trained observer, if I have to vote on one of these, someday I might, it's hard to know to trust or not to trust these, and so I can see, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything. It is just easy for me to see how malfeasance occurs when this kind of information is presented in front of community members to get their approval for spending this kind of money. There is a trust factor involved, and I just want to simply say that it's a big responsibility on the council's part to assume those bills. Just observation, not accusation of anything.
I will reply to that, Mark, that that's the only part of the agenda that I dislike when I'm getting ready for a meeting. I'll spend at least 2 hours looking at those things, and adding, subtracting, multiplying. Oh, that one done. I know Kathy does too. So. Okay.
Rebecca Shea, 385 South Washington Street. On the main drag, which is like the drag when they got the foot on the floor. In case you didn't get last week's Sewers commercial, the public hearing in detail is included in that. I did not read all of it. In the same paper, on page 6, we have a column from our former senator, Cameron Brown, called Seize the Day. And I can't read the whole thing in 3 minutes, but Cameron is quite with it as far as our democracy and our place in it. So I just pulled out a part of a paragraph here. It is also a time to democratize our foreign policy with suitable oversight that is fully transparent and fully accountable to the people. That's what I'm going to address. People. We have people here who have had to bear the cost of village items with the sewers. In fact, another person here in the audience told me that the hotel down here on the corner has space charges of over $12,000 to clear up sewage back up in their building. It should be covered by the village. In his famed Gettysburg Address, President Lincoln borrows from Daniel Webster for perhaps his most famous line, and in doing so, he mentions government only once and people thrice. The people are not the lapdogs of government, but the sovereign of the nation. It is a time for dialogue, not monologue, dialogue with the people, including their bills. Thank you.
Anyone else like to address council tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6. There's no scheduled visitor presentation that I'm aware of. Next on the agenda, item number 7, public hearing, Dairy Distilleries IFTE application. Starts on page 38. We got quite a bit of detail in our packets this time. Mark, is there anything specifically you would like to point out or address?
I don't think so. The question, I think the pertinent question I was asked was how the money breaks out for if an IFT is approved. And now I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was roughly $59,000 a year that the village would receive in the way of real property taxes for dairy distilleries, and $59,000 a year that dairy distilleries would be exempt from. So over the course of 12 years, I don't remember the exact number, but it was around $750,000 that the village would get, and $750,000 that dairy distilleries would save. In addition to which, people should understand that the special assessments are not abated. They're not, technically, they're not a tax, so they would also be paying, dairy distilleries, just as MMPA does, would also be paying the special assessments for the police, the fire, and the ambulance. So, in total, over that course of the 12 years village would be paying roughly $1.2 million. And, the village, would collect, like I said, the 59,000 plus, of course, the revenue from the special assessments.
Any comments, questions?
How long is the lease term for the property that they're,
How long is that?
because Dairy Distilleries is leasing the land from MMPA, correct?
They are, I don't know, how long is that lease? Do you have any idea?
That I don't know, it's more than 12 years, I can assure you that.
It was in the write-up there, but I don't think
I don't remember
I,
what.
I looked, I couldn't find that.
12 years.
Huh?
It's 12
It
years.
is 12?
The lease, is from-
No, the abatement, not the.
Yes,
the-
yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was curious about the lease.
it's on page 68. So I don't want to-
Are we gonna close the regular meeting and open the public hearing, or are we just gonna go to it? We're supposed to do that, right?
Yeah, yeah. We are supposed to do that. You're right. We will go to the public hearing. Good point, thank you, Don. Public hearing, Dairy Distilleries IFTE application, item number 7. We'll do that at 7:23, probably 7:20.
Did you officially close the village council meeting?
I guess by reference, yes. We will close the council meeting and open the public hearing.
Okay.
I have questions. First of all, once we give them the 12 years, we can't change it, correct? In other words, if we agree to 12 years,
You know, this is only assumption. I've never been asked that question before, but, no, I think once the exemption has been issued, that it's there for whatever length the council decides.
my problem with this is, one, I don't think it's a good idea to give them a 12-year exemption, just based on the fact that we have some major things coming in the next few years that we're gonna have to deal with. And to me, I mean, I understand we want business, but they've got $6 million from the government to build the thing. You know, that's taxpayer money. How much more do they need when the village is getting ready to have to pay for a lot of stuff coming in the future, and we need every tax dollar we can get? I mean, I'm okay with giving the exemption to them, but I'm not okay with 12 years at 50%. I think we should look, and if we give them 3 years or 5 years, and then at the end of that 5-year period, we can always renew it, correct?
I don't think so.
So it's a one-time deal.
I think so. And that's-
Because of the construction process.
Lois, do you have any idea? I think whatever is decided tonight is in place for the duration that was agreed upon.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
I've got to say.
Yes, it's my understanding that what you do tonight is an agreement that you entered into for the 12 years, and then
Now,
it's.
the exception would be if, for whatever reason, they close their doors and walk away, there's an agreement in place that they will reimburse a portion of what they saved, or what we didn't get, however you want to put it. But, no, apart from that, assuming nothing extraordinary happens, like they close their doors, it's in place for the duration.
We've asked the village residents to pay more water bill, we've asked them to pay more taxes, we've asked them to pay more for a sewer bill. There's an opportunity in the next few years that Indiana's gonna have marijuana legal, so we're gonna lose a lot of our income from that. 12 years is a long time, and we have a fire station to build, we have, we need water meters, we have a lot of things coming up that financially we're gonna end up struggling. We keep giving things away. And I'm, like I said, I'm all for bringing business in, but I'm also all for looking for what's best for everybody. And I don't see how that business is benefiting everybody by not paying half their taxes for 12 years. That's just my opinion. Everybody has a right to their opinion, everybody has a right to vote the way they want to. But we have a lot of financial issues in front of us that we have to figure out. And this is a huge, it's $60,000 a year, basically what you're saying, $59,000 a year. That's a lot of money. To me, it's a lot of money when we do our budget, so that's just how I feel about it.
Is this only a local abatement, or there's state and federal abatements as well?
This is village taxes, the abatement is village taxes.
Yeah. But, so they're not doing a state, local, and federal for the same project? It's just a local one?
No, so far as I know, this is the only one that they have access to that we can provide.
We'll get through. Any other comments from trustees, questions?
That's all I have.
You raised some interesting points, Don, that, again, I think that as long as I've been on council, I don't think we've ever turned down or shortened the tenure of one of these.
Have we ever faced the financial issues we're gonna face in the next 5 years? I mean, think about that. Everybody that has a brain knows that eventually Indiana's gonna make marijuana legal. And marijuana in Michigan is gonna suffer severely when that happens. Even the people that run the businesses say that. I mean, and if we lose half of that, what are we gonna, sooner or later, what are we gonna do? And we ask everybody in town to pay more for everything just about, to help get a police station, or get more police, and get a fire station, and get all these different things that have been neglected in the past, in my opinion. You know, and now we're telling a company that just got a grant for $6 million, hey, here's more money. That's just, like I said, that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't mind giving an abatement, but I don't think it should be 12 years at 50%. That's just how I see it.
Other trustees, comments? Kathy?
I can see it both ways. In Don's opinion, justifies a lot of dollars that would have to be going out for the village. I can see their distilleries, you know, it's a lot of money that they're saving, and they put a lot of money into it. But like Don said, we have to look out for the village, I think, first, even though it's a business in the village. And I know we've given the ones previously, Court Logic, just last year, year before, I think it was. But, I don't know, it's a tough call. I agree with what Don says. But I would like to see an abatement, but not 12 years. And probably not 50%.
This is a tough call, and I think, have we ever shortened one before, could you remember?
Not that I
Why,
not that I recall, not that I can remember.
Have we ever had an $18 million debt?
Say, you brought up a good point there.
Have we ever had, we don't have a fire station our fire station's falling down, we're out of meters in town. I mean, we sit here every single month and we talk about how much money we are gonna be spending coming in the future. And yet, here's just another opportunity for us to say, here, there's less money coming in, more money going out. Just that's how I look at it.
That's a good way to say it, though, it is more money coming in that we wouldn't have otherwise too. And is it costing us anything by not getting the other 50%. So
Look, if that company would've moved in here and spent all their own money on it, I'd probably look at it different, but they've been handed $6 million. I mean, that's huge. That's a lot bigger than any of the other abatements. I don't know another business that moved into town that was given a $6 million check to build it or start it. When you say we've given abatements before, I think before the circumstances were drastically different than they are today in this town. Look around. I mean, it's just, all right, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. Everybody else needs to decide what they want to do.
So there's no way to adjust the abatement? Like, you can't put it off, it has to be done tonight? That I guess would be my question.
I don't,
It's,
I don't know what's gonna change. I mean, what were you thinking?
like a shorter lease or a shorter abatement or a lower rate?
It's this or nothing.
No,
Yeah.
we didn't do it.
Yeah, I thought
we can-
We can change it.
25% for 12 years or 50% for 6 years?
I guess, I don't understand, I don't know all the legal part of this, but can you do 50% for 3 years and 25% for 5 years? Or, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Does it have to be 12 at 50%? Or can it be, can it gradually get smaller? I got 4 years to sit here and explain to people why we can't afford, we don't have meters. What happens if 4 more people build a house in town? We're out of meters as far as you're concerned, we're out of it.
well,
And we can't get parts for what we have.
well, almost out of meters, but we do have a line on somebody where we can buy the same meter. They're used meters, but they are viable. So we do have some replacements for, and it sounds like we get almost as many as we want, but they're not inexpensive, so.
Well, that's the other thing, we raised, I'm a landlord, I had properties in town, we raised how much it cost me to have everything that the smaller businesses are dealing with, it seems like there's more burden on them. And then we're turning around and giving the big business the break. I don't agree with that. We've done everything we can to help the creamery. I mean, we've done stuff that I didn't agree with to help the creamery out. This is gonna help them out too. Nothing against them, I'm glad they're here, I'm glad they decided to expand. But at some point, the people with the money have to pitch in. And I don't think they're all doing it like they should. And this is an example of that. I had a number of people say to me, you guys, we can't afford this. And I agree with them. I absolutely agree with them. But like I said, I'm open to maybe a shorter rate at a lower percentage or something maybe, but not, there's no way in the world I'd go for 12 years at 50%. It's just too much with the future we have in front of us.
If the question, Caleb, if I understood your question correctly, can the council postpone this decision until the next meeting? Is that what you're asking? Or,
He wants to change like less than 12 years at a less percent. It doesn't have to be what is in the package, what you're saying. right?
no, it does
Yeah.
not, it does
Right.
not have to be 12 years,
Right.
and it doesn't have to be 50%.
Right.
Do we need a new form from them
No,
to change it, I guess?
as I understand it, you can approve
We need a new hearing.
what you want to approve or what you feel comfortable approving.
Okay.
And that would be both the length and the amount of the abatement.
Okay.
There was 245 comments at this public meeting. Everybody that was upset about it knows it's happening and they're not here. For you to have another meeting, I don't think that's gonna change it much. I mean, I lived in this town since I was born, except for the time I was in the military. I never came to any of these meetings, ever. I didn't agree with a lot of stuff that went on in town, but I couldn't blame anybody but me, because I didn't come to the meetings to have an opinion. So, as far as that goes, I think we've done our job, is letting everybody know what's going on. I expected a lot more people here. I mean, I did, I expected a lot of people here, but at the end of the day, Mark made it clear to me, and I didn't look at it from his perspective before, but it is our decision to make. We voted to make that decision, and I think we need to do what's best for everybody. And if we vote to do it, I'll support the other council members, but I won't agree with it.
If I may comment, part of the reason, well, obviously this is a program that's designed to bring industry, to welcome industry. And if somebody were to come along next week, and it's not gonna happen next week, but it does happen that more industry comes around and says, we'd like to build, what can you do for us, sort of thing. So, this wouldn't close the door on that sort of thing, obviously, but part of what makes this sort of development appealing is tax abatements.
I understand that, but besides marijuana, what have we done, what industry has come here in the last 10 years, besides, major industries come here besides marijuana?
And our infrastructure really support any other big business.
I mean, if you look around the village inside the city limits, where are they gonna build another major thing? Unless the marijuana out here where OI is, they closed because the marijuana business went away, and somebody might move in there, but they'd be replacing something that's there, not something that, building something new. And I understand what you're saying. I run a business myself. I have rental properties in this town. And it costs more every single year for those rental properties, for me to manage them, for me to pay taxes on them, everything. All my rates keep going up, 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 up. And it just seems like the people that live in the village keep paying more and more and more. And when we try to put it on an industry and put it on one of these big businesses, it seems like everybody's like, oh, we can't do that. I mean, Simplex, it's not Simplex anymore. They just got bought out by one of the biggest finance companies in America. They're huge. The place that bought them is enormous. I mean,
In answer to your question about what new industry has come to town, Clark Logic, Michiana,
how big are those, Mark?
I'm sorry,
How big are those?
2 million feet under roof here in the county.
Okay.
yeah, I couldn't tell you what the size of the building is, but Michigan, Indiana, rotational molding, whatever it's called. Plus, of course, the marijuana businesses. There are, and who haven't asked for any abatement, but I don't even know if they would qualify for one under the industrial tax abatement, so.
Well, I hear all the time from people, you know, and my generation, the people that are older than me were absolutely against the marijuana stuff. And I was too. I'm not gonna lie to you, because we were raised that. We were raised that it was a bad thing. But people don't realize how much money that puts in our budget every year. What happens if most of that goes away because Indiana legalizes it? What are we gonna do? And I hate to tell you this, but it's coming. I mean, it's coming. But, that's it. I won't say nothing else.
I think this is the first time that, since I've been on council, we've ever talked about not granting the whole length of term and the whole, maximum amount that we could do. If we deter other industries in the future from even investing or thinking about it, or even MMPA, if they want to come in and build something more, maybe, there'd be a deterrent to that now if we're not gonna offer what's possible. And by doing that, we're throwing away quite a bit of money per year for 10 years. Half of it is still quite a bit of money for the village. And then after that, it would be 100% of the difference. What sense does that make over a long period of time that we're not getting all the money that we can get eventually? Kathy?
You just said what do you mean we're throwing it away?
Well, I don't mean throwing it away, that was a poor choice of words here. 50%, I guess.
Right. We get 50%, they
Right.
keep 50%.
Right.
But,
That's what it's coming out.
no,
So isn't a 50% worth more than a nothing?
but they're here.
I know.
And I'm not saying
That's-
just because they're here
Yeah.
already, which surprises me that they didn't ask for this sooner. I mean, almost right away before they even started their project. I was kind of surprised on that, because I thought usually that's a procedure that's followed, is you ask for your abatement right away. But I know you have 6 months to ask for it, and it's awfully close to that right now.
Yeah, 6 months from the time they break ground, essentially, so.
But anyway, I think this is a one-on-one decision. By one-on-one, I mean each business that comes in and asks for it. It doesn't mean that we'll say no to the next one. If somebody comes in and says, yes, we'd like a tax, we'll apply for that. But we have to study it one-on-one when they come in, and it doesn't mean that we'll say no on the next one. And,
And it also
I don't
doesn't,
even think that, I don't think I should even be
it doesn't mean if we
considered,
don't,
if it's a one-on-one, or, my big thing is, we're getting something. you know.
right,
And the only reason we could try to hold off for more is because they came in at the end stages. But how's that gonna influence other businesses that may want to move to town?
just like I said, we're doing it at one time if somebody else comes in, and then we'll make
If
that
they
decision
decide
then.
to
But we
come
also
in.
have to consider what the village has, that we have to pay for. I mean, it's like Don said, we're in a bad bind here. And
we gotta balance our checkbook, and we haven't done that very well.
For years, I didn't wanna buy a house in town because of the smell of the creamery, so is that good for the community if nobody wants to buy a house in town? If there was to be an odor, I don't know that to be a factor or not, but.
I'm not attacking any business, I don't have a problem with the creamery. I think the creamery is good for everybody, but I also think that if we keep on granting, charity, not necessarily charity, but if we keep granting businesses opportunity to save money while they're making money and getting grants from the government to do it, that sooner or later, we're gonna have to figure out how to pay for this stuff. And I'm telling you, it's getting worse and worse. I mean, with all due respect to Mark, we're gonna have to get a new village manager in the next few years. And a lot of them aren't gonna want to work for what Mark gets paid. You know that, everybody knows that. People in his position get a lot more money now. That's something else, it's just, our little town is pretty much, to me, as far as business goes, is kind of close to maxed out anyway, so. If another business shows up and wants to build something, I don't know where they're gonna build it, on the Lily Fields or something
Now,
like that.
there are certainly places, Industrial Drive still has space, South Washington still has room for industry. It could happen, but they're not knocking down the door to get here. Nobody is at the moment to get anywhere for that matter, but, so, for what that's worth.
Any other trustee? Comments? Dave, did you have anything to say tonight?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, just make sure that they're private to the 3-minute limit and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
we'll open it up. Again, there's a 3-minute limit, and that's considering what you always used up at the podium if you have.
For a public hearing,
I'll play by the rules because it's short and sweet with experience. We give, Dick, I believe you were here, Richard, excuse me, and you were, when we give Owens, Illinois an abatement.
Okay.
We give 50%. Then they went to the state and took a bite out of our apple. I'm gonna have to align myself with you this time. A 50% increase in taxes, or an abatement to them is a 50% increase. But Owens, Illinois took a bite out of our apple at the state level, folks. So they have that option too.
It's all going down.
Mark Bove, 1035 South Washington Street. I humbly disagree that that rule should not be in place for a public meeting, that the time I have used already is deducted from my public time for this. I would like clarification by the council whether that is true or not true. The term of the lease is
There aren't that many people here. If you want 3 minutes, we'll give you 3 minutes.
thank you.
And then we'll look it up for next week.
Yes, the term of the lease is 15 years.
Is that on a page?
Yes, it is. It is, under term item number 2, under lease agreement. It's 15 years. If we look at the historical record, I've been to enough of these meetings that this has been discussed and argued, but ultimately voted with what the lease says. It's not the first time that the term and the number of years has been argued about. I've been to enough of these meetings to where I can very confidently say there has been lively discussion. But ultimately, the council decided to go with the 12 years. My opinion.
Shank again, 385 South Washington. Has everyone on the council read this from beginning to end? Is there anyone on the council that has read this from beginning to end?
I haven't read the paper, I've just read all this, thing, I'm assuming it's probably basically the same as what we have right here.
Well, I would believe, I've been to 3 different workshops about the Open Meetings Act. And I have a feeling none of you have done 3 meetings on the Open Meetings Act. Which is why I was concerned when you wrote these new rules about no questions could be asked and nothing, citizen comment at the conclusion of the meeting to address things that had happened at the meeting. I think you need to read the Open Meetings Act and rethink it about how it applies to the village of Constantine. When we had the first presentation by the Creamery on this project, we were told that this was going to be a $21 million investment in Constantine. Is that correct?
I have to go back and look at my notes, Rebecca, on that.
And then later I saw a larger amount. Under the circumstances, I believe you would be totally justified at this point in closing the hearing and rescheduling another public hearing on this with your attorney and representatives from the Creamery in place to answer questions and describe what it is that we need to make decisions on. We don't have enough right now. Thank you.
I don't have much to say, I don't live in the village, but I have a question. Why are they asking for an abatement if they're getting a grant towards the project? Is there a reason why they're asking for 50%? Or is that just something the village came up with? Is there anybody that can answer that? Because I know all of this just happened in White Pigeon and a lot of people aren't happy with that. And I don't want the same thing that's happening in White Pigeon to happen here. Because they just did the 30-year abatement for the apartments. And I don't think that's right.
I will tell you this, the village didn't set this. The village didn't set the amount or the period. This is what was applied for.
Is that the standard that usually, I mean, you've done it all the time, is that normally how a business does it? Well, is that 50%?
I think, yes. This village has, there have probably been 8 or 9 abatements. The village has always done the 12-year 50%. But, and I think that is at that might be the maximum that you can ask for. Not just in the village, but in Michigan.
Okay, seeing no one else in the audience, does council have anything else to say tonight?
Roxanne Bill, I live at 179 East Water Street. And I've lived here a long time. So I remember in the 80s, can't remember, maybe mid-80s, the creamery was putting on an addition, and they came to the council and asked for a tax abatement because they were gonna create, I believe, 8 jobs. And the council turned them down. In the 80s, Mark, you weren't here.
I was here when they expanded that. I've been here 20 years.
Well, they were turned down before it was published in the newspaper. They were turned down.
Do you have any recollection of that?
I don't, I've been there since 1981, and I don't have a recollection of that.
Well,
But it doesn't mean that it didn't happen, I just don't.
that's what was published in the paper,
In the
is
paper.
what I'm saying. But I too, this town is very expensive to live in for its citizens. It truly is. And as a landlord, and Don, I don't know how we can continue to raise our rents to cover the expenses. It's impossible to charge what you need to charge. So, and my other concern, which goes back to the first, when they first came to present this, is the rivers. I'm really concerned, what are they gonna do to our rivers? I know they're following the EPA, but, they're killing off the river every day. They discharge legally 50%. And that concerns me, but no, I don't believe 50% is appropriate, nor the 12 years when they only have a 15-year lease. We've all been here long enough to see what happens when they're given everything they ask for and are here 2 years and leave. And that's just my opinion, 50% in 12 years is fine. And yes, the council is elected to make the decisions, but the people elect you. And how do you know how the people feel? Because it's almost impossible to get a response out of any council member. And how do we know until we get here what's on the agenda? To talk to them, to let them know how we feel.
I pay attention to what's put on social media.
Well,
I mean, I've even been told I'm not allowed to talk on social media. More than anymore, that's.
that's not
I
the
pay-
best place.
But that's the only place in town that you get to hear what people have to say.
It is.
That's a crime.
On these, what?
I said, that's a crime.
What's a crime?
Because social media would be the only place you could hear what the people say.
But all the time I've been on the council, the same 7 or 8 people come to these meetings and complain, or have an opinion. That's it.
I think we're getting a little bit off base. It's-
Sorry. I do listen to the people as much as I can,
Thank
but
you.
I'm not gonna go knock on people's door and ask their opinion.
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak tonight that hasn't yet? For the 3 minutes? Okay. I think each trustee, if they would like to, they can, state what they're thinking. I'll go first. I think that it doesn't make as much sense to me to throw away income right now if we're gonna have all these expenses in the future. I mean, why give up any amount of income? We're talking about giving up 50%, that's what's on the proposal. But even that brings in, what, 692,000, 650,000, something like that. So why would we not give some abatement We've always done the maximum in the past. If we did the maximum this year, or this time, each year, we would be getting roughly $90,000 per year. That's over $1 million for the 12 years. You know, that considered, why would you want to deter future companies from building? I'm sure MMPA had other places that they could have built just as easily, you know, as versus here. They have plants in Canada, I know, and I don't know where else.
We
They
have
have quite a few.
plants, we have plants in Indiana, we have plants in Novi, Michigan, and,
Okay.
in Akron, Ohio. So,
So it could be a disincentive if we say, well, we'll give you a little bit, we're not gonna give you very much. And every little bit helps. That's what I don't understand, even though I agree expenses are going up. You know, we are, each of us as homeowners are facing rising costs. But I think if a company wants to come here and we can get this amount of money, I think it's well worth it.
So why did they choose Constantine?
Michigan Milk chose Constantine because we got a long-standing relationship, and we value this community. We've always had a good, strong working relationship with the community, and that's why this was our first choice to put that addition in. We value ourselves as being a community member. We value this community, and that's why we chose this place. That plant's been there over 100 years. It's been owned by Michigan Milk since 1978. So, you know, we feel that we're a proven company. We're not gonna leave town, we're gonna stay and support the town. You know, I understand there's other bills coming, but we all know that plant brings a lot of revenue to this town in other ways. You know, we employ 70 people from the county, not necessarily all from Constantine, but all those people, you know, they visit village businesses, they do things like that, and we pride ourselves on being, you know, these aren't minimum wage jobs. These are jobs that pay very well, and it's just been a good community. I mean, and we valued the relationship that we've always had with this council and with, you know, with the community itself. I think Mark can tell, if we ever have a complaint from a citizen, we do our very best to resolve that complaint. Does that answer? It's a great village to do business in, and we, you know, you guys, those of you that have been on the committee for a while, know we've had a lot of expansions in the last 6 years. You know, we're not planning on slowing down. Milk is a booming business right now. There's all kinds of different markets for milk, and, you know, we plan to keep moving forward and expanding our footprint. This is our chosen place right now. So, yes.
About the concern about the river. During the original presentation that was made, it was announced that Eagle had approved the, what's the word I'm looking for?
Discharge permit.
To put the product waste into the river rather than into the sewage system. Because of the fact that this system itself had cleansed enough of the sewage to allow it to be put into the river. It wasn't just something they decided. Eagle, if that's correct.
That's correct. We have very stringent guidelines that we have to comply with before we can discharge into the river. I mean, it's almost clean water that you're dumping into the river. And Eagle's gonna protect the waterways. Michigan Milk is really big into sustainability too, and that was part of the premise behind this project. You know, we were taking waste from milk, we're turning it into a fuel source. And, you know, that goes a long way with sustainability and green credits and the environment and preservation of the environment. So.
Will you be an advocate for the dam being decommissioned in Mottville?
Would I be an advocate for that?
What would the creamer?
Oh,
Well, we're 22 feet higher than they are. If they decommission that dam, you're gonna be emptying into a creek.
Yeah. Yeah,
As our sewer is.
yeah.
Okay, other comments, trustees? Anything?
Won't this create some jobs also? How many jobs will approximate?
I think that's in the application, Richard, but, you know, if I remember correctly, it's about 10 high-paying jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But understand, those probably aren't gonna be hired locally. To run a company, to run a place like that, you have to know what you're doing, so they're probably gonna bring people from the outside in
Yeah.
to run it.
That's what Dave speak to that, Dave, you ever?
These are open to anybody in the community, and they, you know, I mean,
A distillery shop.
yeah, but it's maintenance, it's like running a wastewater plant, so there should be that skill set in this community, but that's open for anybody to apply, and, in fact, I think that there's jobs on Indeed right now that we're asking for people. I would love nothing more than to have Constantine residents, all of them working there.
I don't have a problem with the creamery, Dave, that's not my issue.
And I understand what you're saying too, Don, it's.
I just don't know how we're gonna pay the bills in the future if we keep on doing stuff like this,
Yeah.
but that's just how I look at it.
Don, how does it help us if we would reject this? How's that?
I'm not saying reject it.
Or even lower it, how would that help the future if we don't get as much money coming in? We won't get 100% of
Okay,
it, but we're
I'm
getting.
not gonna base my decision on some pipe dream that 4 other businesses are gonna show up next year. I'm not gonna do that.
No.
I'm gonna base it on the fact that we just brought $19 million we gotta pay back, and ask everybody in town to double their water and sewer bills. I mean, come on. And then we're gonna turn around and say, but we're gonna give this company a break when they got $6 million of taxpayers' money to build the thing. To me, that's crazy. I'm not saying, look, I don't have a problem with a shorter term or a lower percentage. But I'm absolutely against 12 years at 50%.
Well, I'll make a motion that, let's see.
You have to close the public hearing.
Oh, yes, excuse me, you're very true, thank you very much. Nobody else wants to say anything in public hearing, I'll close the meeting at 4 minutes after 8, the public hearing. Now we'll go back into our regular business meeting. And first item on the agenda is council action, dairy distilleries. I'm starting to make a motion, I'll make a motion that we offer a 50% for 10 years. 50% for 10 years instead of 50% for 12 years.
I'll support that.
G. Mathers and Richard Lawrence.
That's why we're in the position we're in.
Any other
It's like that.
comments on the motion now? Would like to discuss.
What about 10 years at 40%?
You can make an amendment. I'm not gonna do it. I don't agree with it, but if you wanna amend the motion, you can make the, and if it passes, then that would be part of the motion. If you would like to change my 50% to 40%, you can make that motion and then we.
We have to vote on his motion, and then if it doesn't pass, somebody can do another. But I guess do the roll call.
Anybody else? Okay, Mark, you wanna call roll, and we're voting on a 50% for 10 years.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Gary Mathers,
Yes.
Myra Mathers,
Yes.
Piper,
No.
Denman,
Yes.
Steers, no, King,
No.
does carry by a vote of 4-3. It's these 50% to 10 years. Next item, page 70, marijuana provisioning license transfer.
This is strictly an update. To begin with, I've been in touch with the person who is buying the marijuana provisioning license from Atlas. He understood, or has been made to understand, that the approval of that license transfer is provisional. Part of it was based on that the sale be executed. Part was based on the purchase of what used to be Russell's garage there at 230 North Washington, that sale is executed. And the third is that the property passes, or it's subject to a site review by the planning commission. Along those lines, David Rigosi, our building inspector, will be meeting the purchaser on Wednesday morning at 230 North Washington. The purpose is to figure out exactly what needs to happen there to bring the building into code. The assumption is that it's not going to be up to code. So, but it's not just that, it's also going to be a review of the building facade and so forth. So until Mr. Rigosi meets with Mr. Shaba, I think is his name, on Wednesday morning, that's all the information I have for you, just that the process is in place.
Questions for Mark?
So this is a new person that's gonna take over the one downtown and move it? It's not the same
Bingo.
people that are running?
Exactly right, it's not the
Oh,
same
okay.
people. It's a new purchaser
They're
out
still
of
gonna-
Rochester Hills.
They're still gonna occupy the old building.
Yeah, for like
Administrative.
offices or
Yep.
something, yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again?
They're still going to occupy the old building as
You know, something, you're
administrative.
right, I'd forgotten that, at least temporarily, until the new,
They had like a 12-year loan or a term on their
well,
lease.
Yeah, 17.
the
It's a
people who,
business office.
the people who own that business, the current business, had a long lease. And whether or not, or how that was resolved or not, I don't know, but unless it was an agreement between the buyer and.
I guess I wasn't aware that he could change that lease when
He didn't change it, he just, the company that
yeah.
is gonna move in there is gonna maintain that lease as an office.
Oh, I thought he was
Administrative
saying they
office.
changed it.
That's what they're gonna overtake the lease and use it as an office, is what they told us, an admin office.
Moving to new business, village bookkeeper update, Mark? Jody?
Don't you have to vote on that, the transfer?
We already did,
Yeah.
this is just an update.
We have Jody and I interviewed a woman on December 23rd about the bookkeeper position. It's a local woman, she lives actually on Klinger Lake Road, so she lives in the county. She has significant amount of experience at bookkeeping, but this is going to be a new concept for her. Jody has just been through the training, completed the training. I like the applicant, I think that she will work well for us, but it's gonna be a long, slow training process. And what I'm trying to make clear is, we're not hiring her, that's your job. What I'd like to do is present you all with her application and her resume, and perhaps have the personnel committee interview her if that's what they would like to do. Or she could come to a meeting, but that's gonna put training off another 2 weeks from tonight, so. I said that kinda clumsily, does what I said make sense?
I'd like to see her go through personnel, the committee, I mean, that's where it stands, but 2 weeks is too long to wait.
Well, Jody's gonna be gone roughly the end of February, so.
For a week, but if you wait 2 weeks to hire someone, that will give that person 1 week to learn how to run payroll.
Why don't she just start training? I mean, if Mark recommends her and Jody thinks she can handle it, they know more than we do about that job, if we need to. In 2 weeks, you should have a decision on whether you think she can handle it, and you present that to the council, and we'll decide. You didn't.
No, I didn't know that was our position to hire a bookkeeper. I thought that was Mark's.
Have we ever hired one before?
I've never hired a bookkeeper.
She's been here the whole time.
Rick Combinator hired me.
Manager hired, so I didn't think it was council's responsibility to hire the bookkeeper. I thought it was
Probably true.
the manager's, even though I would like to meet her, but I think
I think she should start tomorrow.
the personnel committee, all right, have a meeting with her, but I didn't think it was the council's.
I thought we were only supposed to deal with like supervisors, like the guy that runs.
That's the reason I'm talking to you about you guys.
If she screws up, that's on you, basically is what I'm saying. Mark's problem. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think that's our job. For the bookkeeper,
Or you think you still want personnel to talk with her?
I think so.
I don't have a problem talking to her, but if they think she's qualified,
Like I said, it's Mark's office.
I say let him go. If he thinks she can handle it, get her.
So,
You know what they.
If he's office staff, he should have a say-so if he thinks somebody's gonna work out here.
what I'm hearing is that it's Mark's job, so let him do it, and if he wants to have personnel input, that's fine, if he doesn't, that's fine as well.
Well, I think that we should have the personnel meet with her.
Yeah, that'd be.
I'd like to see it, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's
But I don't know if
mandatory.
it's necessary to hire, but
Actually, feeling
No.
do you have an application that we can review?
Yes. Would you? Oh, shucks. Oh, yeah, never. He's in this table one. You can pass that bag.
This isn't right?
I'll trade it. I think that's just a single sheet.
Did you have one?
I don't know, but
You got to take one.
I'll take it.
Just on another note, have we found a clerk yet?
We've had, I think, 4 people call and ask for applications, but none of them have returned an application.
How do we increase their wage?
Well, that is gonna be a topic of conversation anyway, because I think both the clerk and the treasurer should receive more than they get. And right now they're making roughly 4,000, 4,200 a year.
38 plus then we rounded up to pay their side of the social security.
I'm thinking realistically, $6,000 a piece for them. But I suppose I can ask for it on an interim basis, and when the budget is done, that could be made permanent, if you're comfortable with that. If you're comfortable with $6,000.
Whatever we need to do to get one to stay,
Well,
because we need somebody
yeah, not that you want to stay, but you want to do this.
that's qualified, right?
Yeah, Caleb will tell you that's a big job.
Some big
doing that
shoes.
stuff, so.
There you go. Do we know what any of the other surrounding county or, villages pay that same position?
I don't know what they pay. I have no clue.
You have an idea back there?
I'll say our township pays 33,000 for the white pigeon, and I think the village is
Well,
at,
those are townships, though.
Yeah, and I think-
Those are also elected officials.
I think the village is at, I wanna say 30, but I'm not sure. I don't know off the top of my head, I have to look at the budget.
But the thing is, the clerk or treasurer in White Pigeon also does the bookkeeper's job.
Yes, That's two
huge
different,
difference.
yeah.
I was gonna say, that's a big
We don't have a
difference.
bookkeeper, we don't have a manager, we don't have any of that in White Pigeon.
How many less people do you have?
We just have a treasurer that does basically all of it.
And also, are we supposed to do an evaluation on Mark every year? Or we just do it every couple of years?
Just every couple of years, when his term.
You wait till last one, because this was gonna be my last year.
Okay, okay.
Is Miss LaFleur gonna take our clerk job? Cindy?
No,
Yeah.
No?
no, she doesn't. She's agreed to be a signer, so.
Oh,
in
just
effect,
a sign,
temporary
okay,
clerk.
okay.
No, she doesn't have, she didn't want to do the meetings and that's what.
Okay. Well, you got orders for,
With your blessing, I'll reach out to her, we'll get her started. I think she could start as early as Wednesday, actually. And I'd also like to at least arrange a conference call for the personnel committee to speak with her.
That's fine.
That work for the two of you.